else? Gentleman here?
Oh, you don't know me, I know you.
Well, he's not that.
I just wanted to say that I first met Barry the same way that thousands or tens of thousands of other people first met Barry. I heard him on the radio. And this is going back to the early 70s sometime. And at that time, I had just started working at KSL, and he was at KFMY. And I heard him on KFMY, and I thought, geez, this guy is good. Really good. I like him. And among the other things he did at KFMY, he hosted a weekly oldies show, briefly, called Olds 98. And I was doing my oldies show at KSL, and so when I'm trying to remember what day it must have been on. I think it was on the same day mine was, only earlier in the day. But I would listen to Olds 98 because I was pretty focused back in those days. That's the only thing I wanted to hear was oldies. And I hear Barry hosting Olds 98 on KFMY. Mostly so I could steal ideas from him. I remember very specifically, I could picture where I was, what the weather was like, and Barry playing a Shirelles record I'd never heard before. That's cool. I don't own it. I'm going to have to go find it. And so from the very beginning, I was simply a Barry Corkery fan. And at the core of everything I've ever done in radio is I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the artist, I'm a fan of the musicians, and I'm a fan of the disc jockeys. And when I was a teenager, listening to those disc jockeys, I thought, geez, how do they do that? That is so cool. I could never do that. I heard Barry Corkery doing it, and I thought, I like this guy. And then when I finally got to meet him and work with him at different radio stations, we worked at 5 different radio stations together over the years, over a span of 15 or 20 years. And I was honored to meet him. It was a thrill to meet him. He had this, people talk about the music he played and how good he was with music. But beyond that, he had this personality, that drew you in. It was inviting, it was engaging, it was warm, it was likable. And that's what made him a great DJ. And the reason he sounded like that on the radio is because that's the guy he was. And I learned that when I finally got to work with him at various radio stations. What a guy. What a good friend to have. I've been working at KRBM for 33 years, and we've had rough spots and smooth spots at KRBM. I remember one time back in the K-Rocks days when we were working together at K-Rocks. I was at KRBM, and I got into it with the general manager big time. And I was pissed. And I stomped out of there and I went straight to the liquor store and I bought a 5th of Jim Beam, and I knew that Barry was on the air at K-Rocks. And I went straight there. And I sat down outside the studio and started sulking and drinking. Barry comes out, "What's up?" I was telling him my woes. He says, "Well, give me a minute." And he went on and he put on Tommy by the Who. And he played all 4 sides. Straight through. We never missed an album changeover either. We're talking LPs, of course, in those days. And the two of us sat there and polished off that bottle and told our radio woes, because he had his and I had mine. Anybody that ever worked in radio had him. And you can never find a more sympathetic ear. You can never find really a better friend. The last contact I ever had with Barry, I didn't actually have it with him. He called my house a month or 2 ago, wanted to know if I wanted to go out and have lunch. And I wasn't home. My wife, Candy, took the call. I got home. Candy says, "Johnny, Barry Corkery wants you to go have lunch." I said, "Okay, I'll call him back." She said, "Boy, he's a nice guy." And I said, "Well, yeah." And she said, "We talked for 15 minutes. I said, "What did he talk about?" She said, "Well, he just seemed interested in everything that we're up to." He talked about, what he thought of you and what he thought of KRBM, and he wanted to know how I was doing, and he talked about me, and he talked about Dorothy, and geez, he's just nice guy. And I said, well, yes, he is. That was the last almost contact I ever had with him. That was about 2 months ago. You know, it's been over 2 years since I actually saw Barry in person. He came here to this place. I was celebrating my 40th anniversary in radio. And I said at the very core, I'm a fan. And Barry came up to be a part of that evening just to say hello and let me know he was here to help me celebrate my 40th anniversary. I was thrilled. That's nice. Because I idolize guys like Barry Corkery. And what made Barry Corkery such a great broadcaster that influenced not only DJs like me, but listeners all over this town and county is the fact that he was himself on the air. He was one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. And that's what our listeners love. And I'm proud to have known him. And it's been an honor to work with him over the years. And to make a long story nearly interminable, I was in Ken Martin's. Ken Martin is the program director at KRBM. I was in his office last week, and he told me, you know, Johnny, none of Barry's relatives back in Kansas know that he ever even smoked pot. So,
now you tell me.
so for all the Kansas family members here tonight,
Shocker.
I'll tell you 2 things. I've got a mess of relatives in Texas that are praying for me too. And if it makes you feel better, I want you to know that disc jockeys and broadcasters are the biggest bunch of liars you could ever sit down with.
I talked to Barry about his influences, and Bill Slater, of course, would come up, Tom Donahue, Barry,